In the beginning, there was nothing. And then, boom! God created the entire universe in 6 days. But here's the problem. Modern science tells us the universe is nearly 14 billion years old. Dinosaurs roamed the Earth 6 billion years ago, and modern humans showed up on the scene roughly 300,000 years ago. So what's the real story? Was the universe really created in just 6 days? For my entire life, I was taught that God created the world in 6 days, like 6 literal 24-hour days. But as I learned more about scientific concepts like evolution and the age of the universe, it made me wonder whether the 6-day creation account is historical or something more cosmic. And I'm not alone. How and when the world was created has been the subject of investigation for centuries among Jewish thinkers. They've debated the meaning of every single word in the creation account, turning it inside out to try to figure out what exactly went down. And what they thought might surprise you. But first, we gotta begin at the beginning, literally. Let's break down the 6-day creation account. Day 1, nothingness. And then God says, let there be light. Day 2, God separates the waters above from the waters below. He gathers the seas on day 3, revealing dry land, and commands the earth to sprout vegetation. He populates the sky with the sun, moon, and stars on day 4. Day 5, God creates marine life and birds. On day 6, land animals emerge and God forms humankind. Then he looks around, decides it's good, and stops. The whole creation week culminates in the day of rest on the 7th day. So all this begs the question, is the Bible telling a literal story of God creating the entire universe in 6 24-hour days? Some traditional Torah scholars say yes. They interpret the biblical narrative exactly as it's written, that the universe was created in 6 days. And all the evidence that suggests billions of years have gone by, it was created by God to appear that way. Take fossils, for example. Traditionalists think that when God created animals on day 5 and 6, he made fossils too, and he buried them deep into the earth ready for humans to eventually discover them. So in this interpretation of the creation account, there were never really any dinosaurs, just the appearance or evidence of them. On the other side of the coin are people who believe that the entire 6-day narrative is fiction. They don't read this section of the Torah literally at all. In their view, what science says goes, and the Bible's creation account is just a myth. But here's where things get interesting. There's a third camp that tries to reconcile science and the Torah. After all, Judaism believes that everything originates with God, including science and the laws of nature. So if the Torah and science were both created by God, that must mean that they're not completely incompatible. And it's on us to figure out the answers to the most confounding questions. Like, how did the universe even start? And what happened when God said, let there be light? Well, according to the medieval Jewish thinker Nachmanides, at first there was nothing. Then God said, let there be light, and a tiny pinprick of energy appeared. This tiny point of energy rapidly expanded outward, solidified into matter, and became the entire universe. Turns out that Nachmanides was light years ahead of his time, because his explanation for let there be light is pretty close to how scientists explain the origin of the universe. That explanation is known as the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory states that the universe started as a hot, concentrated cosmic soup that rapidly expanded outward, and the universe kept expanding and is still expanding today. Scientists estimate that the Big Bang occurred about 13.8 billion years ago, but according to the Jewish calendar, we're only in year 5785. So how does a universe that has celebrated a bazillion birthdays line up with the 6 days of creation and the world that is less than 6,000 years old? Well, a nuclear physicist actually wrote a book on it.
The Torah has 2 calendars, a cosmic calendar, and then from Adam forward we have an earth-based calendar. But the first calendar is cosmic, seeing time from the beginning, looking forward.
This idea that the Torah has 2 calendars comes from an insight by Nachmanides. He explained that there's an anomaly in the text of the creation account. The first day in the Torah is not described as the first day, but rather as one day. But all the subsequent days are described sequentially, the second day, the third day, and so on. So why the disparity? Well, you can only have a first day if you already had a second day. So when the Torah talks about one day and not the first day, the Torah isn't counting time like we do. And Nachmanides' aha moment turns the creation account completely on its head. because it means that the Torah is counting time in a cosmic sense, not in an historical earthbound sense. And according to the Talmud, the soul of Adam was created in the 6th day, so the first 5 days of creation are measured in cosmic time. So how long is cosmic time? Well, according to scientists, the universe's constant expansion since the Big Bang has actually stretched our modern perception of time. The cosmic time described in the Torah, when the universe was much smaller, is much more condensed. Think of it like a time-lapse video. This construction project took 4 years to complete, but the time-lapse effect makes it seem like all the work took place in seconds. The Torah's cosmic time is like that video. It's a much more concentrated passage of time. Dr. Schroeder put all this together in an equation that shows the Torah's days of creation aren't that far off from science's age of the universe. His theory is pretty mind-blowing, but it's just one of the ways that concordists have explained that 6 days of creation could really mean a much longer period of time. The Torah uses the word yom to describe each phase of creation, and we usually translate yom to mean day. But even medieval Torah scholars believe that the Torah used the word yom in the creation account to not mean literal days, but rather epochs or eras, long periods of time during which the universe changed and developed. There's even a teaching dating back to the 9th century that states that God built and destroyed hundreds of worlds before this one. The 17th century rabbi Yom Tov Lippman Heller explained it like this. During the 6 days of creation, God created other iterations of the universe that he later destroyed and replaced with new versions, new ages that came and went until he arrived at the version of the universe that we live in today. But remnants of those earlier iterations remain. Here again was a Torah scholar who was way ahead of his time, because just a few years after Rabbi Lippman Heller died, the first dinosaurs were discovered, remnants of another time, proving that there were eras from billions of years ago when the world looked very different. And his explanation echoed a theory that would rock the scientific world 2 centuries later. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution turned science upside down, and it raised some really deep questions for Jewish thinkers. Like, does evolution fit into the creation account? Turns out it can, depending on who you ask. Rabbi Shlomo Einhorn explained the thinking behind the theory that some Torah scholars say reconciles the conflict between the Torah and evolution.
The theistic evolution theory, which is also called evolutionary creationism, fully embraces biological evolution, the idea that all life on Earth share common ancestry and diversified through processes like natural selection. The difference is, from evolution, it insists that process was initiated and guided by God. Evolution is a tool that Hashem used to bring about the rich diversity of life. He designed a universe that's so elegant that life develops from simple to complex on its own.
In other words, theistic evolution says that God built the process of evolution into how the universe works, and then he used that same process to create animals and eventually humans. Okay, so understanding that evolution in the Torah can be in harmony is very satisfying, but it also raises some other questions, like the origin of humanity. Homo sapiens have been around for 300,000 years. But Adam and Eve were created less than 6,000 years ago, and the Torah suggests that they were the first people. So what's right? Well, both.
What you could say is that there have been these, hominids and different humans that have existed throughout time, but suddenly at some point on the map, God decided to imbue the human with a soul. And when God imbued human with a soul, that changed everything. So Adam and Eve become not the first humans, but the first covenantal humans, the first to have a relationship with God and moral responsibility.
Adam and Eve weren't the first people on the planet. They had other human contemporaries, but they were selected by God from among other humans to have the first spiritual souls. Adam and Eve were special, and this explanation also helps solve some biblical conundrums, like who Adam and Eve's son Cain could have married. So how do theistic evolutionists explain the Torah's account of the creation of Adam? If he was a person who already existed among other humans, why would the Torah describe him as being created from dust? They would explain that the Torah isn't meant to be a biology manual. It's teaching us why we're here, not the technical how of how we got here to begin with. The idea that Adam was made from the dust of the earth doesn't make sense in the context of evolution, but it does make sense if you think about it as the Torah teaching us a lesson about humility. We come from the dust, and to the dust will return. This reading of Adam and Eve's creation isn't a scientific account. It's a spiritual account of the birth of humanity's consciousness and morality, what our purpose on this earth is, and how our souls are connected to God. And this gets at a deeper question about the creation account overall. If creation really took billions of years, and not the literal 6 days plus a day of rest, why does the Torah give us an account that lasts a week? To teach us something about the number 7.
That's a number that keeps repeating itself and is significant to the Torah. Passover and Sukkot each last 7 days. You have this in Kabbalistic mysticism, but go beyond Judaism. 7 is recognized as a universal symbol of completion or perfection beyond Judaism. You have 7 notes in a musical scale. You have 7 colors of the rainbow. Seeing things in sevens is a sense of completion.
We honor the 7-day creation account, this first cosmic week, by living our lives accordingly. 6 days of work with 1 day of rest. Whether the creation account is a literal story on how the world came to be or not, it's the basis for how we define time, how we give time structure and meaning. All of these interpretations of the creation account are powerful, and they speak to the heart of how Judaism interacts with the laws of nature. We marry concrete scientific facts with religion's leap of faith, and science is constantly evolving. Our understanding of how the universe works changes as new concepts are discovered. For hundreds of years, scientists thought the universe started one way until they accepted the new theory of the Big Bang. In 5, 10, or even 50 years from now, who knows what new ideas we'll learn about the universe? In the same way that science evolves, the Torah is also a living, breathing document. It's relevant to all of humanity throughout its many epochs. And just like scientists are constantly experimenting, we do the same with Torah. We're always looking for new meanings in its timeless texts, plumbing its depths to discover hidden concepts, and reconciling modern ideas with Torah's ancient words.